Hey guys, today I have a very cool piece to show you today. It's the G Knives Volt, and it's one of the rare occasions where the maker is very nice, very responsive. He looks after you very well. The knife has a very distinctive design and it's very beautiful and functionally perfect as well. Um, so let's get right into it. Starting from the frame, it's a frame lock, full circuitized frame lock, um, and that in itself is very cool because um, the, the the frame is very scratch resistant. You know, when you think of dress materials, and that it's like not very, it's too pretty to carry. This is the proof that you can carry this. It's not no problem at all. Um, you know, it doesn't. The color doesn't change when my hand is not exactly clean right now, but it doesn't show how oily it is. The colors are extremely vibrant, and if you've seen my other knives, they have quite a few scratches on them, like in the last video, but this one just doesn't take any scratches onto the knife. Besides the pocket clip, of course, because that's polished, but on the frame, you know, especially this part, nicely jigged. Um, Very well finished. Jonas is very kind to do this for me, and I also wanted to add the holes here because his hand rub is quite beautiful, and you can see through the frame to see the hand rub, and man, I think that's just very cool. On the back side, you can see his lock bar has these 3 cutouts, which is very cool, kind of like Lee Williams's lock bar cutout. It's not just one square piece, but 3 little slots. I think that's quite neat. Even the top of the lock bar is quite thin, compared to some other knives. But this is like what engages on the blade, and that's all you need. I think that's quite cool. And the pivot, I think it's a Steve Kelly, but I'm not entirely sure. But he, um, you know, is no longer basically a custom pivot. I think just like the base of it, and then he just did all the other, millings to make it into his own pattern and polished it beautifully. Um, very cool. Yeah. Um, let's get to the action. This knife has a very nice action. It's one of those where you can just fiddle with it the whole day, just have fun. Um, the knife is extremely smooth. Let's listen to the sound of the lockup. Very nice. You can open it fast, you can open it slowly, not a problem. But I think it's made for flicking more, judging by the detent, but you can do both ways. Not too hard to do. I can do it with my left hand easily, flick. The thumb stud is made from zirconium, and it's an extra large thumb stud, and it's very comfortable. Jonas knows that I like to fiddle with my knives, so he made this larger thumb stud. And at first I was thinking, would it be like too close to the frame? How would it, would it be weird or awkward? But nope. The large thumb stud is perfect. It protrudes a little bit over the frame, which means that if I just put my hand on the frame and slide it onto the thumb stud, easy opening. Yep. Very nice. Oh. going onto the lock, I like this lockup, maybe 15% lockup or 25, 15, 20% lockup, but the lock release is just one of the best things on his knives. I'm so impressed because you can't, first of all, you can't feel the detent at all. Some knives, you get stuck on a detent, but this one, when you release the bar, it feels like it's not even touching the blade. It's like, it feels like it's just floating, but it is solid. It is touching perfectly on the blade, no play at all, nothing left to right, rocking it, front and back, nothing. But when you release the lock, talking about no lock stick, this thing, you don't even know it's on the blade. It's just one of the best. I've only felt one other knife that had the same thing was on my Walter Randolph, but otherwise, this is very, very unique to have such a nice, lock bar action like this. Extremely, extremely cool. The frame has very, very nice contouring. You just can see the knife is a little bit heavy, but he contoured it a lot. You can see it just looking from here, the nice curves, and the tolerances here are also very nice. I chose to go with a Circuitai frame, but the polished, it's a simple titanium polish, clip, pivot, and just a hand rub satin blade. I think it looks very, very nice. Inspiration from Svi's videos on his own Volt. I thought it was very beautiful, but I needed to have my own as well. But not exactly the same, of course. Some modifications, and I think it looks very nice. Going to the pocket clip, this works very, very well. If a knife has a pocket clip that doesn't work, I'll try to fix it or ask the maker to fix it. If it doesn't work still, it gets out of my collection. This is one of those where it's perfect. Hidden hardware, and the shape of it just, it just slides in your pocket very, very easily. The tension is very nice. Yeah, it works with all of my pants perfectly. One-handed insert, which is very nice. And talking about the satin finish, when it said that satin finishes might be, it can easily be scratched more easily than this. It's not entirely true. I'm not sure how. Maybe it's like lower grit satin, but this is just beautiful, and but it doesn't take scratches that easily. It's quite resistant, actually, to my surprise. Even the pivot, I lay my knife down, boom, nothing. Still looks nice and polished as usual, which I find is very, very cool. One thing I need to mention, going back to the action, one of the things that or one of the very few flaws on this knife is that when you release the knife, you can see that there's this little, this is where it goes onto the stop pin in this section, but this was sharp when it first got here, and like usually if you release your knife like this, you don't really notice it anyways because your finger doesn't hit it. But sometimes when I do this, I like to do this, and it gets onto your finger, it pinches you a bit because of a sharp. So I sent it back to Jonas, and he just dehorned that edge, and now it's perfectly fine. It doesn't annoy me anymore. But that was the only slight flaw that I had. And talking about a good maker, I sent it back to him. He took only he was very fast in replying and fixing, and I was very impressed. Another thing that if you might be might be worried is that the blade is actually very high up, um, and like if you know just run your fingers over, you won't hit it. If you put a little bit more pressure on it, you might be able to snag it a little bit, um, which is not really like how normally you would, you know, this I'm even like putting my, you know, the meat of my finger in a bit, but it's fine. Um, but I'm sure that if it's too much of a concern, because I notice it's only on my knife that the recurve is a little bit exaggerated, so that's why maybe the tip is more out there. But otherwise, I'm sure he can just take that tip off. He can grind it off. Um, so let's go back to the blade. I love this shape. Ergonomically, the knife is very, very comfortable in the hand. Um, you know, this is just perfect for your thumb rest. No need for jimping. You know, this rests really well. I mean, with this size of a knife, you're not gonna be like hammering it on anything anyways. But so this is just provides a perfect place to put your thumb, put your hand, and the blade has a beautiful hand rub satin. Very, very, very strong satin. And the funny story is, when I first got the knife, the action was not smooth. Because, like right now, it is so smooth that if you just move it around like this next to your ear, you can't hear anything. It's just silent. It's that smooth. It's hydraulic. It's not like glass or free falling, but it's hydraulic. You can't hear anything. Anyways, going back to the blade, it has a very, very strong hand satin, and the lines are very, very straight. And it goes along with, you know, the top switch has one line, the blade itself has another line. But at first, when I had got the knife, the action wasn't entirely smooth, and it got worse. So as I was playing with it, you know, it started to like snag a lot more, and you can't to, you know, push it out, you know. But and then at one point, the detent almost felt like it was jelly. It was weird, you know. But that was maybe an hour of playing, and then suddenly, boom, extremely smooth. So I was asking Jonas, like, hey, why is the action so gritty? You know, I put some lube in it, but it's really gritty. He's like, yeah, that's actually the hand rub lines that I put on. That's very strong. So you just keep playing with it, it'll go away. And that's exactly what happened. You know, after an hour of just, you know, putting it back and forth, even less, I think, it just became suddenly extremely smooth. You know, it's quite funny how knives break in like that. This is, I guess, a unique knife that breaks in that, like, that you can feel such a clear transition between break-in period and that the knife has already been broken in. I'm not sure if it's just on my knife or on others as well, but I think that's quite funny. And yeah, this blade is very, very usable, quite sharp. It is made of AEBL, not exactly like a super high-end steel, but I mean, it works fine for EDC. You can just drop it if you need, if it gets, you know, a bit too dull for your taste. But personally, I fiddle with the knives a lot, and the work I put on it is quite minimal, cutting-wise. Just a few packages, you know, when you buy stuff from grocery or bring in new things to the house. But yeah, let's go to the backspacer now. The backspacer is a floating backspacer, nicely done. I also use the satin totem to make it satin. and it's a bit plain, but I like it. You know, it goes well with the rest of the knife, um, and yeah, very very nice. Service wise, I have taken this apart before, um, just because I wanted to, you know, see what it's like inside and clean it up a bit when it has a lot of gunk in it. You need two screwdrivers on both sides, and you know, just one, two, and it comes off. Um, the only thing that's annoying when you take it apart is just you know, the washer standoff to make it floating. But otherwise, it's fine. The bearings are captive within the detent or the pivot, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I love how he textured everything, how he contoured it. You know, the knife for its size, I think it's a little bit weighty, but I like it. It's not that too heavy, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll come back to you with another one next time. Thanks so much for watching.